welcome to the end of the world photo session, which probably isn't quite what you imagined. But for this to be a post-apocalyptic photo session, it's got the three essential S's. It's got styling, it's got smoke, it's got speedlights. Actually, the last S doesn't really matter so much because any flash would work. It's just speedlights really fit in with the small space I've got here. Now, I've got to work out the lighting, so you're going to come on that journey with me, and there's definitely going to be some post-processing. I'll share all of that information with you as we go through. And because of the release date for this video, I'm going to share with you the most scary thing, which is going to give photographers real nightmares. Stick around for that. So I think for now, let's get a light set, let's get a model in, and let's get shooting. To help me out today, I've got the amazing Sophie. Sophie's going to be the model for our post-apocalyptic set. And as you can see, the background is not very post-apocalyptic. It's just a black sheet hanging on the wall. But we're going to change that in post-processing because in my mind, the background that's going to be there is a post-apocalyptic background that's a wasteland that's falling apart and on fire. At least that's what's in my head. Now, the first thing we need to do before we get to any of that is actually get the basic photo in. So I've got two speedlights at the back of Sophie, and these are going to give us a little bit of edge lighting. Now, I don't know quite what the right exposure is, so I'm going to take a test photo and find out. I've got them set at 1/32 power. Let's see if that looks about right. Here we go, Sophie. Quick little test photo. And it gives me the edge lighting that I'm after, but you'll notice there's quite a lot of flare. So to fix that, I'm going to have to move these lights. What I've done is I've moved this light as far back against the wall as I can get it, and I've put the other light equally far away as much as I can in this space. Now that is going to have a couple of effects on the exposure, but we'll worry about that in a second, but also the way the light spreads and hits Sophie. So let's take a test photo, see what we get. Here we go. So we've got less flare in the image, which was what I was after. The amount of light that's reaching Sophie has been reduced because the lights are further away, but I'm not going to worry too much about that because I've got another element to add to this before I think about the exposure. And that is coloured gels. It's meant to be a post-apocalyptic setup, so we're not going to have nice white light. Remember, we've got a city that's on fire, so I've got an orange gel for one side, which magnetically sticks to my speedlight, and I've got a red gel for the other side. I don't want to do the same colour on both sides because it doesn't quite add the cinematic feel if you have equal colours. I'm actually going to add some yellow to my red because yellow and red should combine to reduce the strength of the red. And well, what colour do you think this is going to make? Let me know in the comments if you can figure this out before I press the shutter. It's not that colour, by the way. Let me show you what happens. So red and yellow gels combined give me still red, because gels don't work the way you necessarily think paints will work. They will combine, but not always how you would like. However, it's toned the red down quite a bit, which is what I wanted, and I'm kind of happy with that. But I can change the look of this in two ways. The first way is actually quite simple. Sophie, can you just take a little step towards me? So if Sophie steps away from the background lights, this is what's going to happen. They're going to become much more edgy, and I quite like that because that leaves us some shadows, and with the shadows I can add in an extra light. My third speedlight is just going to go in a softbox in front of Sophie, and this probably isn't the best place to put it, but it's a good way to test it. So I've got this set. It's in a softbox, so it needs a bit more power than the bare flashes. It's at 1/4 power to get the same amount of exposure, and it looks okay. But okay isn't what I want. This is the end of the world. It's the post-apocalyptic session, so I'm going to move the light around to something a lot more edgy, and because I'm using a strip box, I can actually spin this around to get a thinner beam of light. I don't have to change the exposure because the flash is basically the same distance away from Sophie as it was before. Let's take a test photo. And now we have something that has a lot more edge to it. Still got the coloured light coming in that's hitting the edges of Sophie, and we have light on both sides of Sophie's face, but it's definitely lit on one side more than the other, which looks so much more interesting. And it wouldn't be a post-apocalyptic photo session without two important things. Number one is some smoke, and number two is a weapon of some description. There you go, have a real axe. That's quite heavy. And let's add some smoke. Now, smoke, you need to be careful because as you add smoke to the scene, it's not going anywhere. So build your smoke effects up slowly over time. So, Sophie, are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's add some smoke, let's take some photos. Smoke needs to be behind Sophie, but in front of the backlights, because if you don't backlight smoke, you won't actually see it in the pictures, but this instantly adds the look I'm going for. Before I get too deep into the editing, let's give Sophie a shout out, a great model, but also a professional makeup artist, and you can see in her makeup on her face that extends to her neck and even onto her hands, which is something most people might forget to do, but it's essential to complete this look. I'm going to add in a new background to complement that look, and I'm going to do it using the scariest thing photographers can touch. Yes, I'm going to AI this, so let's go to Image and duplicate this image. And then go to Edit and fill it with black. And that allows me to use the contextual taskbar to generate an image for my background. I know I want a cityscape, but what other words could I use to describe what I'm after? That's a post-apocalyptic background. That's a wasteland that's falling apart and on fire. Yep, that sounds about right. I also want it photorealistic-ish, and I'll hit generate, and I end up with 3 really good images that really do match the description. But if you don't like those 3 images, just hit generate, or really go and trash a city and set fire to it and then photograph the results. Your choice. Oh, that one works for me. It might work really well. Yeah, we're going with this one. So I'm going to select it all and copy it. I'll go back and paste it. And because we did that whole duplicate image thing, it's exactly the right size, but not the right quality. So I'm going to get around that by using a bit of filter, blur, and then Gaussian blur. 20 pixels looks right. That just gives me a depth of field effect and hides the digital nature of the background. But I can't see Sophie. So let's go to multiply, screen, blending mode, overlay, soft light. That's the winner. Soft light it is. I think I want to change the brightness of the background. So I'll just use a little bit of levels just on the background just to lift that up slightly. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now I've got everything in place. I need to just mask a few bits away. I'll put a layer mask on this layer. I'll make sure I've got a paintbrush that's just a classic big soft black paintbrush. And we'll just click in here to bring the original color and the original image through the new background. Once I've done that, I could tweak this a bit further, and one way would be to apply some textures. For example, I've got an action that makes some cinders. I'll leave a link in the video description down below along with links to the gear I'm using. You can use this action for free, just follow the instructions. And there you go, cinders are flying around. To finish this off, I'm going to apply maybe a little bit of a vignetting effect to add some lighting to this and perhaps a little bit extra texture, but basically there it is. There is my studio-based post-apocalyptic portrait with a little bit of help from AI in the background, completed. Well, it's taken quite a while for the smoke to clear, but I could use that time to do the editing, and I'm really pleased with how the pictures came out. I said at the beginning we needed the 3 S's of styling and smoke and speedlights. I was wrong. There's 4. The 4th one is the amazing Sophie, and without her this really wouldn't have worked so well. So if you've enjoyed this video or you've got any questions, just leave me a comment down below. Give it a thumbs up, that really helps. You've made it this far into the video, you must have enjoyed something. And if you haven't already done so, click on the subscribe button. Now, if you haven't had enough of this kind of dark, moody, slightly spooky kind of photography, We did a whole live stream last Halloween, so why not go check out that video right up there. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.